So the big news is on Thursday, the House passed a new health care bill, a so-called Obamacare repeal and replacement. And depending on who you ask, this bill is either a delivery from the gods.
What we have is something very, very incredibly well crafted. We want to brag about the plan because this plan really,
Or it's a forthcoming apocalyptic plague.
If the bill passed today and the House became law, thousands of Americans would die.
People will die, yeah. Death and taxes are the only certainties we have. Yet somehow, Bernie Sanders eludes both. Now, I don't have all the answers for you. I don't have the expertise to solve this issue. And if I did, I'd probably be doing something more lucratively compensated than speaking into an ISIS-style camera setup and praying daily for advertisers to return to YouTube. You hear that, Verizon and AT&T? I'm not a Nazi, and I got the ink to prove it. Now, will you please put some ads in front of this one? I've heard varying opinion from people I respect. I've heard praise for this bill as better than its predecessor. I've heard criticism for this bill as not doing enough to modify its predecessor. But more than any specific policy I'd like to see enacted as we try to solve the problem of healthcare delivery in this country, I would like to see honesty and accuracy in the public debate on the issue. I don't know much, but I am confident this bill is neither a magic potion to cure all that ails ya, nor a death warrant for women and children first. The reality is somewhere within the miles in between, and the only way we can pinpoint the best solution is if we stay within the realm of the observable facts and give our opposition the benefit of the assumption of good intentions. But apparently that's a tall order, because I see very little of that actually happening. But no media piece on this bill has reached the heights of absurdity of a segment that aired on Friday night on MSNBC, when Ari Melber, filling in for Lawrence O'Donnell, hosted Nancy Giles, a CBS News contributor, and Christina Greer, a Fordham University professor, to discuss how this bill is particularly harsh to women.
Joining me now, two people, Nancy Giles, a contributor to CBS News Sunday Morning and the host of the Giles Files podcast, and Christina Greer, associate professor of political science at Fordham University. I introduced you both as people.
I appreciate that.
If you stop the clip right there, that's pretty funny taken out of context.
You're people, but there is a larger dynamic here writ large in the polling about how women, citizens of this country, are feeling, writ large in the policy of how this disproportionately affects women, and then in the policy making, as we just showed.
Of course, that's what he really means. Gender shouldn't be a distinguishing factor. That is his point. And then his guest completely contradicts that point with her first argument, her go-to argument, the primary case as to why this bill harms women. And that is obvious because there weren't enough women on the stage when Trump spoke about the bill passage.
Well, what's so weird to me is that for somebody who's so good at branding and at publicity and at how things should look, that picture of all older white guys being the ones deciding anything about women's health, to not even have a woman there. I mean, it says it all, actually.
I think the visual of the all older predominantly white men is deliberate. I mean, he's done this with his executive orders. He wants his base supporters to see this is a white supremacist administration, and he wants them to see this leadership. Women are not involved, people of color are not involved, and I think that this is a very clear, I mean, even it's a branding thing.
Yeah, look at that frame. No women, no people of color. But you know what else is noticeable about that frame? It's pretty tightly cropped. Presumably it doesn't show everyone who attended the event, right? Let's check out a wider angle. Oh, hey, well, look at that. Women. Sorry, I mean people. It's a misogynist, white supremacist administration that lets congresswomen who helped to write the bill speak at the event, as well as woman of color and CMS chief Seema Verma. I asked this trio for clarification on Twitter. Why did they make claims about who was at the event that are clearly untrue? And just for that, I got the swift Steve Shives treatment. I wanted to give you guys a chance to respond before doing this, but you left me no choice.
You are fake news. Very fake news.
Once they're done lying about the women who helped to write the bill, they move on to lying about what the bill says about women's care. Forgive the little glitch in the recording. It's online that way. I can't fix it.
And this group, I can't even call them pro-life as much as they seem to be pro-birth. They're fine with, like, women having babies. They don't really care about the health issues or anything like planning these pregnancies or taking care of people after that. It was appalling to look at.
As far as the pro-life piece, like, there's no such thing as pro-life.
I know.
It's either pro-choice
the other side
and anti-choice.
Yes,
no, it's pro-choice and anti-choice.
I know.
And all these are the same people who were rushing to execute the prisoners in Arkansas last week, right? So the term pro-life should be thrown in the trash right now.
I'll grant your terms if you want. I'll say there is no such thing as a pro-life position. There is only pro-choice or anti-choice. But you must concede this bill is choice neutral. While it is true this bill does restrict funding available for entities that provide abortion, note the bill has exceptions for medically necessary abortions, as well as pregnancies that result from rape or incest. In other words, there is no language about restricting access to abortion, only language about federal funds not paying for it, the spirit of which is already the law and has been for 40 years. You get to choose all you want. You just don't get to send us the bill.
And it's not just about abortion. He's throwing that one out there. But look, we're talking about mammograms. We're talking about rape. We're talking about C-sections. We're talking about preventative care. We're talking about contraception.
You might be talking about these things, but the bill isn't. None of these things you mention appear in the text of the bill, except for rape. And as I said, all it says is abortion is cool for federal money if the pregnancy resulted from rape. That's an explicit protection for rape victims, not a punishment.
We're even talking about the fact of I'm sorry to interrupt, just being a woman now being a pre-existing condition.
Right. You treat that as an absurd concept, but the reality is women are more expensive to cover than men. Women have babies. Women are more prone to injury than men. Women live longer and consume more end-of-life care. But none of that matters for your argument anyway, because the new healthcare bill keeps the old Obamacare provision in place. Insurers cannot charge women more than men. Being a woman may be a pre-existing condition, but per the law you're bitching about, you can't be charged more for it. At one point, the host asks them a great question. If the goals of this bill are anti-woman, why did so many women vote for Trump and for Republican legislators? And the answer is one of my favorite sound bites of the year.
You say the women who voted. That goes to the paradox. I mean, you have tons of Republicans, legislators, and Republican citizens who would say there's nothing white supremacist about what they want. They have values, and a lot of women are pro-life, as we know. And to pick one example, and you respond, college-educated white women under 30 broke for Trump, not Hillary Clinton. What do you make of that? And do you think that these policy choices, right, will now change some of that?
Well, first of all, you don't need men to have patriarchy. White women are upholding patriarchy in very clear ways that they have for generations.
You don't need men to have patriarchy. Isn't that the key ingredient? You don't need men to have a social structure in which men hold all the power. Then who the hell holds the power? And I thought you were here to protect women. Except for those women who disagree with you. They don't count. They uphold patriarchy. So just toss them under the bus. Luckily, their bus injuries are covered at the same price as a man's, no matter what lies and misrepresentations you invent to suggest otherwise. And after all that, lacking any self-awareness, they accuse the president of being overly theatrical.
We know Trump responds to whether or not he gets crowds and whether or not people like it. This right now, he loved the fact that he can say, I have a win. When have we ever seen a president celebrating the House passing something?
Exactly. It's so strange and hollow and confusing. And actually, I think it goes to the theatricality of what he does.
Well,
it's how it looks like it's a win, even though it hasn't really happened yet.
I agree that it's not wise to count your eggs before they hatch, but you two get no slack if you're accusing others of overly dramatic sensationalism. Calling your entire segment a work of fiction is the only plausible defense you have at this point. Just kidding, guys. You definitely need men to have patriarchy. We were just joking around. To recap their arguments: 1, false claims about no women being present at the speaking event to celebrate passage of the bill. 2, false claims about coverage available to women under the new law. 3, white women are secret agents of the patriarchy. And 4, the president is too dramatic in his presentation style. So lies, mysticism, and feelings. In other words, precisely why you have all lost my vote for the foreseeable future. And maybe there's a case to be made. I'm open to it. Maybe this bill is bad for your average female healthcare consumer, or just your average person healthcare consumer, to be inclusive like the host. but you haven't supported that case. As a general rule, the argument of because patriarchy doesn't support any case, other than the case of your position should be immediately dismissed with an after party of drinks and ridicule to follow. Provide me with objective evidence. Provide me with verifiable information. Provide me with a way to reach your conclusion through thinking for myself. And you might convince me with your case. But as long as you keep giving us a choice between patriarchy, voodoo, and something else, you don't get to be surprised when we all choose something else. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it.